My wife has been cheating on me for our entire marriage. I always thought I was the luckiest man in the world. When Emily walked into my life, everything changed. She had this infectious laughter and a way of lighting up a room that made everyone feel special. I was captivated from the moment we met at that summer barbecue where she was surrounded by friends, her laughter ringing like music, drawing everyone in. It was like the universe had conspired to bring us together. Our wedding was a whirlwind of joy and celebration, a day filled with our closest family and friends, everyone dancing under the stars, wrapped in fairy lights. Little did I know, that was just the beginning of a long, painful journey. In those early years, everything felt perfect. We settled into our little home in the suburbs, a cozy 2-story house with a white picket fence and a small garden where we planted tulips and daisies together. Every Saturday morning, we'd wake up, brew coffee, and share breakfast on the porch, watching the neighborhood come alive. Our routine became cozy and familiar. Emily and I often hosted dinners for our friends like Jake and Sarah, who were always up for a good time. Jake, with his easy charm, often joked about how he wished he had a partner as sweet as Emily. I'd laugh, feeling proud of the life we'd built together. We'd play games, share stories, and create memories that felt unbreakable. But as time went on, whispers began to creep in, shadows lurking at the edges of our happiness. I remember one evening during a particularly lively barbecue when Sarah pulled me aside. "Have you noticed how Emily and Mark have been acting?" she asked, her brow furrowed with concern. Mark was one of my closest friends, always the life of the party, the kind of guy everyone adored. I never considered that there might be something more going on beneath the surface. I shrugged it off, convinced Sarah was just being paranoid. "They're just friendly," I insisted, unable to fathom that anything might be wrong. As the years rolled by, the cracks began to show. I noticed Emily spending late nights at her book club. At first, I never thought much of it. She loved reading and needed her space. I encouraged her to pursue her interests, feeling secure in our relationship. But the more I learned about her supposed meetings, the more I felt something was off. One evening, I drove by the coffee shop where she claimed to be meeting her friends. My heart dropped when I saw her laughing with Mark, their chemistry palpable even from a distance. The way she leaned in close, the way they shared secrets, it was as if I were a ghost in my own life. When I confronted her later that night, I tried to sound casual, hoping to dismiss the growing dread in my gut. "Hey, what's up with you and Mark?" I asked, keeping my tone light, though my heart pounded in my chest. She brushed it off with a wave of her hand, a practiced nonchalance that felt rehearsed. "It's just a friendship, honey. You know how we are." I wanted to believe her, but the seed of doubt had been planted, and it began to grow, twisting and turning in my mind. Life went on, but my unease grew. I confided in Jake, who listened intently as I laid out my concerns. "It's probably nothing," he said, but the worrying etched on his face told me he wasn't as sure as he claimed to be. I tried to push the nagging feeling aside, focusing instead on our twins, Lily and Max. They brought joy into our lives, their laughter filling our home with warmth. I threw myself into being the best father I could be, hoping to keep our family together. I took them to soccer practice, helped with homework, and read bedtime stories. Their innocence was a balm for my soul, even as my heart ached. As the kids grew, I watched Emily retreat further into her world. I'd catch her texting late at night, the glow of her phone illuminating her face like a secret. She always had an excuse, a reason for her behavior that I clung to like a lifeline. "Just catching up with some old friends," she'd say, but her evasiveness gnawed at me. I felt like I was losing her, the person I once loved slipping further away, and I didn't know how to reach her. One fateful night, it all came crashing down. It was my birthday. A day I had hoped would be special. I set the table, lit candles, and prepared a lovely meal, eager to celebrate together. I even bought a new shirt, one I knew she liked, hoping to rekindle that spark. As the clock ticked past 9, dread crept in. I called her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. When she finally arrived, her cheeks flushed and her laughter too bright, I could smell another man's cologne on her clothes, a scent I recognized from Mark. My stomach twisted in knots, and I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. "Where were you?" I asked, my voice trembling as I fought to keep my emotions in check. "Just out with some friends," she replied, avoiding my gaze. My heart raced as I pieced together the fragments of lies that had begun to form a grotesque picture in my mind. I couldn't hold back any longer. "Emily, this isn't just about being out late. I've seen you with Mark. I need to know the truth." Her expression shifted, and in that moment, everything spilled out. She admitted to a 5-year affair with Mark, the man I had called my friend. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. She'd been lying to me for years, and I felt like a fool for believing in our perfect little world. My heart shattered, and I could hardly breathe. "How could you?" I managed to choke out, the betrayal slicing through me like a knife. The aftermath was brutal. I moved out, staying with Jake and Sarah for a while. They offered their support, but I could see the pity in their eyes, the way they tried to hide their sympathy. I spent countless nights wondering how I'd let it all slip away while Emily continued her life, seemingly unbothered. The weight of her betrayal was suffocating, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being left behind. Months passed, and I struggled to rebuild my life. I found a small apartment, the walls bare and uninviting, reflecting the emptiness I felt inside. The silence echoed my heartache, and the solitude felt like a relentless companion. I poured myself into work, hoping to find some semblance of normalcy. But every time I saw the twins, confusion marred their faces, and it broke me a little more. They deserved better, and I felt helpless to protect them from their mother's choices. As I began to pick up the pieces, I heard whispers about Emily and Mark. They had moved in together, and it felt like a punch to the gut every time I thought of it. My heart ached for the kids, who were now navigating a world divided between two homes. I tried to be strong for them, to show them that love could still exist despite the chaos surrounding us. I took them to the park, played catch, and helped with their school projects, determined to keep our family bond intact. Jake and Sarah were my lifeline during this time. They offered support, but their attempts to cheer me up often felt hollow. I could see the worrying etched on Jake's face as he watched me spiral into self-doubt. "You're stronger than this, man," he'd say, trying to lift my spirits. But I felt broken, a mere shell of the man I once was. I started avoiding social gatherings, afraid of facing Emily and Mark together. The holidays rolled around, and I dreaded the thought of spending them alone. I tried to create new traditions with the twins, decorating the tree together, baking cookies, and wrapping gifts. I wanted them to feel loved and secure despite the storm of emotions swirling around us. Yet, I couldn't shake the loneliness that crept in during the quiet moments, the hollow echo of what should have been a joyous time. One day, I decided to take the kids to the park. I hoped it would be a distraction for all of us. As we played, I saw Emily and Mark walking hand in hand, their laughter ringing out like a cruel reminder of everything I had lost. I turned away, fighting back tears. The sight of them together felt like a betrayal all over again, the pain crashing over me like a wave. "Daddy, are you okay?" Max asked, his innocent eyes filled with concern. "Yeah, buddy, I'm fine," I lied, forcing a smile. I didn't want them to carry my pain, but I felt like I was wearing a mask, the cracks beginning to show. I couldn't help but think about how our family used to be, how laughter and love filled our home, now replaced by silence and confusion. Days turned into weeks, and I tried to focus on my own healing. I started therapy, hoping to untangle the mess of emotions inside me. My therapist, Dr. Roberts, was patient, guiding me through the labyrinth of my feelings. "You're allowed to grieve this loss," she reminded me gently. "It's okay to feel hurt and angry." Every session left me exhausted, and I often found myself questioning how I had let this happen. As I looked back on our years together, I realized I had sacrificed so much of myself to keep our family intact. I had poured my heart into being a good husband and father, only to be met with betrayal. I learned to confront my feelings, to sit with my pain rather than push it away. As time passed, I began to reconnect with myself. I took up running, finding solace in the rhythm of my feet hitting the pavement. The physical exertion helped clear my mind, allowing me to process the anger and sadness that had taken root in my heart. I made new friends, slowly building a support system that didn't revolve around my past with Emily. Then came a pivotal moment. One afternoon, I was having coffee with a new friend, Lisa, whom I had met through a running club. We talked openly about our lives, and I found myself laughing for the first time in ages. Lisa had her own story of heartbreak, and as we shared our experiences, I felt a connection growing between us. It was liberating to be vulnerable with someone who understood. We explored the city together, visited art galleries, and enjoyed late-night talks over pizza. I found myself smiling more, the darkness lifting bit by bit. Still, I couldn't escape the reality of my situation. I thought about the kids often, their well-being always at the forefront of my mind. I tried to maintain a relationship with Emily for their sake, navigating the complexities of co-parenting. We set boundaries, but it was challenging to keep emotions at bay. Every interaction felt strained, a reminder of the love we once had, now tainted by betrayal. Eventually, Emily reached out to discuss the twins' needs. We met at a cafe, and I was struck by how much she had changed, or perhaps how much I had changed in my perception of her. She seemed different, her demeanor softer, more contemplative. "I never wanted this for us," she said, her voice tinged with regret. "I messed up, and I can't take it back." For the first time, I saw her vulnerability. It stirred something in me, a mix of empathy and anger. "You made choices, Emily. You can't just expect me to forget them." My voice was steady, but inside I was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. "I know," she replied, tears welling in her eyes. "I just want us to find a way to co-parent peacefully." "The kids deserve that." I studied her face, searching for remnants of the woman I had loved so deeply, and for a moment I felt a flicker of what had once been. We talked for hours, delving into the past, the hurt, and the possibility of moving forward. It was painful but necessary. I realized that while I could never forget what had happened, I could choose how to respond. I could choose to focus on our children and not let bitterness dictate our relationship. The first step was learning to communicate without the weight of resentment hanging over us. As the months went by, I slowly rebuilt my life. I focused on the kids, making sure they knew they were loved unconditionally. I encouraged their interests, cheered at their events, and created routines that helped establish a sense of stability. Emily and I continued to communicate, working towards a healthier relationship for the sake of our twins. Yet, the scars of betrayal remained. I would always carry the weight of those years spent in the dark, but I also emerged stronger. I learned to trust again, not just in others, but in myself. The experience had shaped me, and while I had been left in the dust, I found a way to rise. I often thought about love, how it can be beautiful and devastating. In the end, I realized that life moves forward, even when it feels like everything has come crashing down. I learned to embrace the uncertainty, and as I looked ahead, I felt a flicker of hope. I may have lost the life I once envisioned, but I was on a new path, one filled with the promise of healing and growth. With every day that passed, I found strength I didn't know I had. I began volunteering at the local community center, using my experiences to help others who were going through similar struggles. It became a source of fulfillment, and I learned that healing wasn't just about moving on. It was about growing, supporting, and finding a sense of purpose in the aftermath of pain. I shared my story with others, and it felt empowering to help them navigate their own heartaches. As I settled into this new life, I found moments of joy creeping back in. I started dating Lisa more seriously, and she helped me rediscover the parts of myself I thought I had lost forever. She was patient, understanding that trust takes time to rebuild. We enjoyed simple moments, coffee in the morning, long runs in the evenings, and sharing laughter over meals. Each day felt like a step toward a brighter future, a reminder that love could be rediscovered. Though I still had moments of sadness, memories of Emily, and what could have been, I no longer let them consume me. I had transformed my pain into strength, and I was learning that happiness was possible again. I found solace in the love of my children, the support of friends, and the budding relationship with someone who saw me for who I truly was. Life had not turned out how I had envisioned, but I was creating something new. And in that newness, I discovered resilience and a deeper understanding of myself. As I looked to the future, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey, even the painful parts. I had come to understand that every ending is also a new beginning, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. One evening, as I tucked the twins into bed, I felt an overwhelming surge of love for them. They were my light in the darkness, my reason to keep moving forward. "Daddy, can we read a story?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. I smiled and grabbed their favorite book from the shelf, settling in for a story that had become our nightly ritual. As I read aloud, their giggles filled the room, and for a moment, all the pain faded away. I realized that despite the chaos, despite the betrayal, love still existed in its purest form. It was in the laughter of my children, in the warmth of their hugs, and in the small moments of joy that made life worth living. I knew the journey ahead would not be easy. There would still be moments of anger and sadness, flashes of betrayal that would catch me off guard. But I also knew I had the strength to face whatever came my way. I was no longer the man who had been blindsided by betrayal. I was a survivor, a father, and a man learning to embrace life again. With each passing day, I chose to let go of the pain that weighed me down. I chose to focus on the love I had in my life, to nurture it, and to let it flourish. I began to envision a future where happiness was not just a fleeting moment, but a constant presence in my life. I dreamt of family vacations, birthday celebrations, and quiet evenings spent with loved ones. As I closed the book and kissed the twins goodnight, I whispered a promise to myself. I would keep moving forward, embracing the uncertainty, and allowing love to guide me. I may have lost the life I once envisioned, but I was ready to create a new one filled with hope, healing, and the unwavering love of my children. Thank you for watching. Here are some other videos you might like, and subscribe for more.